Hey, hi there. This is Murli Sundram, your happiness coach. Every day we are bombarded with lots and lots of thoughts, but do you know that more than 80 to 90% of them are repetitive negative thoughts? Have you any day committed any mistake in your life which costed you money or sometimes even relationships? And those thoughts haunt you back again and again and again in your head. And sometimes you become so critical, self critical, that self-criticism, that the inner dialogue that is happening within you, which pulls you down. Okay? So this video is for all those people who do a lot of self-criticism, put themselves down and feel very bad. If you are someone who has a lot of inner thoughts, which is self-critical, too much of self-criticism happening, and you are telling yourself, you know what, I am fit for nothing. I know that I am a disaster. I know that I am a failure. I am like this. I don't know. And these repetitive thoughts keep coming back to you again and again. In this lesson, and I'm going to share with you 6 simple ways of how you can get rid of this self-criticism. Would you be interested? If you're interested, watch this entire video and take action of any one method I'm going to share with you. Sometimes see these inner dialogues, the inner words, inner dialogue we all do. I think every human being does this. Okay, everyone. Right, in the morning you wake up till you go back to sleep. There is a non-stop nonsense, and there is a continuous self-talk happening with everyone. Okay, no one is a saint here. Everyone is continuously talking. Okay, the only difference is they have found out a method to have a empowered, positive self-talk. But many of them, they fall into the pit of these repetitive, negative self-talk. Sometimes you commit a mistake, okay? Some small mistake, which costed you some money, or you made a wrong decision. Probably you lost some relationships, or you made some mistake. Okay? Some mistake. See, mistake is common. Every human being does it. Okay, but sometimes these mistakes causes that emotional trauma. Okay, and that trauma haunts us again and again and again. Probably you said something and it hurted the other person, and they said something. That conversation haunts you for probably you lost that friend in your life. Probably you lost that relationship. Probably you lost the trust in the other person. So when that happens, you put yourself into a bit of guilt, and you feel very bad, and the same thing again happens again. Whenever you see them or hear them, the same thoughts come back to you. Okay, such thing happens to you in your life. If that's the case, let me share with you some 6 interesting methods, 6 techniques. You can apply any of these techniques whenever you feel overtly self-critical. Have you any day felt overtly self-critical? How did you feel on that day? Just comment in the box, okay? How did you feel when you criticize yourself too much? Criticizing others is okay, but criticizing yourself, when you start criticizing yourself, you will see that your shoulders starts drooping. You slowly go down in your feeling. Your body will go down. You don't work effectively. It drags you down as if someone is putting a huge weight on you and it goes down. Yes or no? Have you experienced anything like that? Go ahead and comment if you have experienced such things. Don't worry. In this session, in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can get out of it. Okay. So if you have a pen and paper, take these notes. Okay. I'm going to share my screen with you, and let's take notes. What are the 6 different methods? Okay. Let's talk about what are the 6 things that you can do. Now there are different techniques are there. I'm going to share with you some simple techniques. Number 1. This is the most interesting technique I have found, because many, sometimes, the thoughts in our mind are super fast. Okay? We can actually think super fast, and the thoughts, sometimes if negative thoughts are there, they run in our head in a super high speed, and it takes you through an emotional roller coaster from joy to sorrow to sadness to depression, everything. So one method to handle the self-criticism is to criticize yourself only through writing. Yes. How about you criticizing yourself through writing? Isn't that a very interesting thing that you write your own self-message or SMS or text, okay, or WhatsApp messages? So best thing is advantage of criticizing yourself in writing. Okay, it means you are criticizing instead of thinking in your head. You start in writing. That means you take your mobile or take your notebook and start writing. Okay, probably you can have your own criticism diary, or probably you can write text to your own self or an email to your own self. The advantage is it will slow you down. When you criticize yourself instead of thinking in words, it slows you down. Why? Because the the writing and the thinking cannot match. So obviously it will slow down because you can't write nearly as fast as you can actually think. Say for example, if you have some 5 self-critical thoughts, okay, instead of 50, because when you're thinking maybe 50, 60 thoughts are hitting your head, but when you're writing, only 5 is coming. So obviously you feel little better. Okay, and also it gives you a different perspective, because when you literally see these thoughts spelled out or penned on the paper, suddenly you find that irrationality in that particular thought itself. So suddenly you become more, you become more, conscious. Okay, oh no, I think this is not me. This is not who I am. This is not my true nature. So that kind of an awareness also builds in when such negative self-talk happens. The best way to criticize yourself is not in thinking, but in writing. That's what my teacher Brian Tracy always says: think on paper. Okay, so that's the technique number 1. Okay, let's go to technique number 2. What's the second technique? How do you handle the self-criticism? It's a very, very simple way of handling it. It's always, we think that we are always wrong when we criticize ourselves, because that's how our mind plays the role with us. Suddenly the mind plays the devil with us, and sometimes it tells you that you are useless, you are fit for nothing. Okay, that's how the inner dialogue happens, and suddenly we feel bad. And that's the reason you can always have a counter for the devil. How do you do that? Play the devil's advocate. Okay, then start doing a counter argument for your own devil mind, that inner negative mind, by doing a devil's advocate method. What do you mean by devil's advocate method? See, once you notice that you're beginning to criticize yourself, ask your inner devil's advocate to stand up and look for counter arguments and evidence for a counter. This say for example, in the road you go, someone is bullying them. Okay, you will go and counter that bully, right? So similarly, your own mind is bullying you with the self-critical thoughts. How about you playing the devil's advocate, telling that, hey, this guy is not as you think. So come up with some counter arguments that if the thought says that, this is a grave mistake, you shouldn't have done that, that's the biggest error in the mistake. And you can always have a counter argument for that particular thing. Hey, when you look at 5 to 10 years from now, this looks very, very small. Okay, so have like 2 lawyers fighting in the courtroom, have one more lawyer for yourself, counter arguing your own inner negative self-talk. So that is the second method. Okay, did you like the second method? Go ahead and comment below. Okay, let's go to the third technique. Okay, so the first technique is in writing. Second method is all about having your own lawyer, the counter lawyer who can protect you. And the third one is a very interesting method of remembering the golden rule in your life. Do you remember the golden rule which we read long before? Always treat the other person as your neighbor. Treat the other person as who you are. So whenever you get these nagging, irritating, self-critical thoughts, I would like you to think of this golden rule of treating yourself like how you would treat a good friend. Just ask yourself, if a good friend whom you love, whom you like, does this mistake, okay, how will you handle that? If the same good friend did the same thing, how would I respond to that person? Is this the same critical way will I respond to that person? No, right? So I will be little more compassionate with them. So ask yourself, apply this golden rule like how you are treating another friend. So treat yourself as another friend. That is another method of handling self-critical thinking. Okay. The fourth method, what is the fourth method? Is, we also have a lot of good qualities also in us. It doesn't mean that it's always negative. Only during the self-criticism, the mind throws all the negative things. One door opens, one negative thought opens, it also brings in all the negative thoughts and negative feelings inside you. Yes or no? And we go depressed. That's the reason it's always better to have an ammunition or a weapon to fight against it whenever you get these self-critical thoughts. Okay, when you start doing self-criticism, what should you do? Take a piece of paper. Okay, take a piece of paper and maybe it will take 10-15 minutes. List down all the good qualities. Okay, what are the things you like the best about yourself? Write it down. Okay, what parts of your personality or the way you act you're really proud of? Okay, what would the best friend will say about the favorite parts about who you are? So just brainstorm and list it down. Probably 10-15 items you will list down. In that, you take some top 10 and rank them and keep it handy with you. Okay, And maybe you can take it, print it out, your top 10 qualities, and paste it in the wall. Every day, just go and visit this particular list. Probably it can happen in the wall, or it can be in the phone, or it can be on a computer. But every day, you need to read these top 10 qualities of yours. Why? Because whenever the self-criticism starts, you immediately open these top 10 qualities and you start reading. See, hey, I know that you're telling me self-critical, but I have these top 10 critical qualities. When you start counteracting this way, this becomes a very strong ammunition. Thereby, you don't go deep into that self-criticism. The self-criticism will take you like a vicious cycle. It takes you deep down inside the downward spiral inside you. Therefore, you go down into depression. So you can avoid that if you can immediately counteract with your top 10 qualities. Was that a good tip? Excellent. So number 5, what's the number 5? Number 5 is a very, very interesting technique. I will always say, you would have heard about visualization. Yes or no? I'm sure you all know how to imagine. I'm sure you all know how to, visualize success in your life. But here is a small twist in the whole story. Whenever you feel overtly self-critical, you feel very bad about you. Sometimes you did some mistake. Okay, so you have to accept that. But how do you do that? Another method is, imagine. Okay, you have to imagine. Just imagine. You have to close your eyes and imagine that you're sitting in a park or a park bench or on a beach or somewhere beautiful scenery. Okay, and you have to imagine there is one amazing supportive friend is also sitting next to you. So can you imagine describing your mistake, the error you did, to your supportive friend, and how they would respond back to you? How would they talk to you about what you are struggling with? Probably you may have that mentor, okay, a coach or a guide. Okay, you have to close your eyes and visualize and imagine yourself to that beautiful park or a bench. Okay, so you may have to do this couple of times so that the minute self-critical thinking happens, you can immediately close your eyes and go to this particular park or the bench or the room which you have created inside you, where you're talking to your own supportive friend or a coach or a mentor who will now counsel you. Okay, so this is called a self-compassion visualization, where the other friend compassionately talks to you. Okay, so this is, though it is not them talking, it is you yourself doing a compassionate self-talk. That's another method to manage self-criticism. So use this self-compassion visualization. And here comes the most interesting technique of the day, which is very, very simple. I'm sure many of you would have heard about gratitude journaling. Yes or no? I think many of you may be practicing gratitude journal, because what is gratitude journal? Whenever it's a very powerful habit by many successful great leaders. What they do before they go to sleep, okay, they just pick up a diary which they call themselves as gratitude journal, write the date over there, and write down what are the 2 or 3 things that they are thankful for today. Okay, someone opened their door, someone smiled at them, so they just write down. Okay, why? Because thank you is the world's best prayer. So by saying more and more thank yous, you automatically become more happier. Now, instead of doing a gratitude journal that way, if you think that there is too much of negative thoughts happening, too much of depressive thoughts are happening, and you're feeling too bad about yourself, you can actually twist this whole gratitude journal into a self-gratitude journal. What do you mean by self-gratitude journal? Make little time every single day to think of those to create a list of 1, 2, or 3 things about yourself, what you're grateful for. See, generally gratitude journal, people write gratitude to others. But here, you can open up a gratitude journal, diary, or even a notebook, or even a folder, or it can be an app, where you write 1 or 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for you today. Okay, probably the dress you wore today was really, you felt comfortable. Probably you fed a dog today. Okay, probably you gave some milk to a cat today. Something which you feel grateful for yourself for what you did. So that is called the self-gratitude journaling. So I am giving you all the different ideas today. Okay, so what are the 6 ideas today I've shared in this particular video? Okay, so it's all about playing devils. Okay, now first thing is criticize yourself only through writing. Okay, that's technique number 1. Second technique, playing the devil's advocate. That means you have your own counter arguments for your negative talks. Third one, the golden rule. How do you treat the other person? So can you treat yourself like how you're treating a good friend if they have committed the mistake? How do you treat them? How do you talk to them? And the fourth one is write down your top 10 qualities and keep that as your weapon whenever you face with these critical self-defeating thoughts. Number five, self-compassion visualization. Think about that coach or a guide or a mentor. How will they talk to you when you go and talk about your mistakes to them? And the last one is writing a gratitude journal about you or yourself. Okay. I hope you really enjoyed these 6 methods. Okay. Here is a question to you. Among these 6, what is going to be your action point today? Okay. Which one point would you like to take action whenever you have that overtly self-critical, self-defeating, self-sabotaging thoughts that occurs in your mind? Which ammunition are you going to use? Which method will you use? Go ahead and comment below. Okay, because ultimately it's not in the knowing, it's always in the doing only. The more and more you practice this, you'll always find, see, mind is like it's a negative instrument. Okay, it always finds every possible way to keep you, protect you, survival tool. Okay? So obviously it throws you all the negative things in your head, but it's all about how do you discriminate and get out of these negative thinking. Thereby you can always think positive, because when you're not thinking negatively, it is filled with a lot of positive thoughts, positive feelings, and you can always be happier. Remember, being happy, that means being self-happy, is the best gift you can give to yourself and the people around. Today is a very good day where you can always practice being happy for yourself. And if you love this particular video, you like this, you can share this with your friends, you can talk about this with your friends, you can share any of these 6 methods to someone, because the best way to learn is to go and teach someone. Okay, so go ahead and teach this technique to one person in your life today, or share this on your Facebook, in your WhatsApp, so that someone will get benefited. And if you believe that every day we are filled with lots of negative, unhappy thoughts, negative thoughts, and you want an ammunition to fight yourself, please do visit www.unlimitedhappiness.com, where every day I share one lesson like this. Thereby, it's like every day taking a daily vitamin for our own mind. Thereby, we can conquer our own mind to achieve more success, happiness. Not only that, in Unlimited Happiness, if you are part of my premium membership community, do you know that every month I teach one workshop for all my members, a 90 minutes workshop on various topics I keep on sharing. So if you're really interested to keep yourself happy, find and also become successful and productive, go ahead and visit www.unlimitedhappiness.com. Okay, so remember, today it's all about taking action now. It is not just in knowing, it's all about in doing. Go ahead, take any one action today. Maybe of these 6, go ahead and practice any one. And best part is go ahead and teach someone else also. Thereby it goes deeper into your cell memory. I hope you really enjoyed this particular video. I will see you in another interesting video. Tada, bye-bye. See you. This is Murali Sundaram, your happiness coach. Bye-bye.